I saw something today about the driving school issue. First of all, we need driving schools, right? I think they need to be appropriately regulated, I think some of the complaints are consumer-driven, so that could be handled within DMV, or maybe should be handled in a more robust consumer department. But yeah, I think everybody in state government should do their job.
I was hoping to ask you a little bit about what, I guess, approach you're going to give on the 5th, and what you're going to tell the legislature. I know you don't want to give away the whole speech, but I mean, what's the
I said this to I've been spending a lot of time preparing people for how desperately bad things are in Connecticut. I think that most people are starting to understand that we have the largest per capita deficit in the United States by all accounts. Most people have a hard time wrapping their heads around what $3.5 to $3.7 billion actually is. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. A lot of my remarks thus far has been preparatory to making sure that people understand that we cannot cut this budget by $3.5 billion, $3.7 billion, and be the state that we aspire to be. Nor can we raise taxes by $3.5 or $3.7 billion and long continue to be the state that we want to be. So, I think what we'll be saying on the 5th is these are challenging times. We will rise to the challenge. We have a history of rising to the challenge, and then I'm going to get my dancing shoes on.
What about the raised expectations of one-party rule? I mean, you guys now control the legislature and the governor's office.
Well, two-party rule has gotten the state so far into a ditch. And so this is not about parties. This is about the people of the state of Connecticut having selected who their next leader is, based on a very clear platform that I ran on, making relatively few promises, making no promises that I believed I couldn't keep. So I think people are ready for change. That's why they voted for me.
Yes, but we were just talking with Speaker Donovan yesterday and some of his new committee chairs. One of the things that they're looking forward to is having an administration that they believe will be more cooperative, will be more forthcoming with information. So I'm just, it seems to me...
But I will be more cooperative, and I will be more forthcoming with information. I have been, listen, I'm wearing you guys out. So, I will be more forthcoming. You can expect that.
Really? Do you think people's expectations were skewed by a political campaign where you had not just the eventual Republican nominee, but several candidates saying, I can solve this entire problem without tax hikes? Are you encountering people saying, hey, well, why can't we do that?
I think it's a very good question, and a very fair question. And I think that, listen, there was a lot of pressure on me, even within my own camp, that I should do things that other candidates do, and I didn't, and it came close to costing me the election. But what it also then entitled me to do as the governor is to be the arbiter or the leader. Or to bring forward ideas on how to get through this mess, unrestrained, unconstrained, to provide the kind of leadership that people hired me to do. That's what I'm free to do now. I'm going to do it. And that will be more represented in our budget address on the 16th of February than it will be, because this is a work in progress. You had asked where we are. We're making progress. Ben and his folks, now joined by the lieutenant governor, are working on the budget.
I guess given how bad the situation is, what are realistic expectations for successes from this session that's coming up? I mean, what can really we realistically expect? What would you consider a success?
June 1st. I think a lot of what we have to do is get from where we are to there, to having GAP be the law, to having an administration that intends to implement GAP, to be as free of gimmicks as humanly possible, to be forthright and transparent with the people of the state of Connecticut. That's why I'm telling them how bad things are. Listen, I got something across my bow yesterday. We've got to start paying the interest. And people are saying, well, the budget's balanced. Budget's balanced. Well, we've got to start paying interest on the unemployment compensation monies that we borrowed as of January 1st, right? I mean, that's pretty. It's a pretty big. It's $1 billion, $1.2 billion. I don't have the exact number in my mind, but it's a very large obligation that we now are obligated to pay the interest on. Now, if we pay the debt off within 9 months, then there's a waiver of that interest. But I don't know what our prospects are for paying that debt off within that 9 months. Certainly, I know Denise Napier's folks will be taking a look at it. They'll be talking to Ben Barnes about it. But these are very complicated issues. The state's in terrible, terrible, terrible trouble. On the other hand, I've been hired to straighten it out.
Talking about things that came over your bow yesterday, you mentioned, with the Yukon Health Center, you said you're going to have your staff try to take a look at some other alternatives. I know it's kind of early, it's the day after, but I mean, realistically, what could those be? And do you think realistically there's any other federal money out there for that project?
Yes, I do, and I will work with the administration on trying to have them to find other avenues to make a commitment to the renewal of the Dempsey Hospital complex, as well as our ability to do meaningful research in the state of Connecticut, as well as lending its support for one of the finest dental schools and one of the finest medical schools in the nation. So, yeah, we're going to do that. On the other hand, I think, we have to be realistic. If you study hospital administration across the country, many privately, not-for-profit, as well as profit hospitals are investing in new infrastructure, because infrastructure that was built 20, 30, 40 years ago does not, in fact, meet the needs of just the hospital function. As that function has been reconfigured, as we've extended people's life spans, as people come to us in some cases sicker but leave more rapidly than we could possibly have even imagined 20 years ago. So lots of hospitals are facing some of the same challenges that we are. Now, most of those are not research hospitals. They're not associated with a dental school. They're not associated with a medical school. They don't have the same research function. That fact is really our ace in the hole, because it promises a different return on investment if we can do this successfully.
And can we do the project without the $100 million?
I think that we can't do it as rapidly. We can't do it. I think it would have to be I think we'd get to the same point, but it would be over a different period of time and in different stages. We don't really have a choice about whether we invest in Dempsey and our research in schools. We just don't have a choice. So our job, just add it to the pile of problems I've got to deal with. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, everybody.